Hey people, get ready to crush everyday IELTS and CELPIP tests for all modules and make your dreams come true. I'm your motivator and I'll be guiding you through the test prep videos. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or you'll be missing out on some serious preparation.
What advice would you give Priya about choosing between the two job offers in Vancouver and Calgary? Explain your reasoning clearly. Begin speaking now.
I think you should look at a few important things. First, think about the salary and cost of living. Vancouver is more expensive than Calgary, so your money might go further in Calgary. Also, think about your career goals. Which job will help you grow more? Finally, think about where you want to live long term. Both cities are great, but Calgary has lower taxes too. I hope that helps.
That's a tough decision, but I'd suggest weighing a few key factors. First, consider the salary relative to each city's cost of living. Vancouver is significantly pricier, especially for housing, so a higher Vancouver salary might not stretch as far. Second, think about long-term career growth. Which role aligns better with your 5-year plan? Third, lifestyle matters. Vancouver offers mild winters and a coastal vibe, while Calgary gives you access to the Rockies and has no provincial income tax, which is a real financial advantage. Ultimately, I'd recommend choosing the city where the job best supports your professional and personal goals.
Choosing between Vancouver and Calgary is genuinely complex, and I wouldn't rush this decision. I'd encourage you to start by evaluating compensation in real terms. Vancouver's housing market is among Canada's most expensive, so a comparable or even higher salary there may leave you with less disposable income. Calgary, by contrast, offers no provincial income tax, which meaningfully boosts take-home pay. Beyond finances, consider each role's industry ecosystem. Vancouver excels in tech, film, and green energy, while Calgary remains a hub for energy, finance, and increasingly, tech startups. Think carefully about which sector aligns with your 5 to 10-year trajectory. Lifestyle-wise, both cities are vibrant and multicultural, but your personal priorities, proximity to family, outdoor recreation, or urban amenities, should ultimately anchor the decision.
How do you address Priya's resistance and still try to help her make a well-informed decision? Speak to her directly. Begin speaking now.
Priya, I understand you really want Vancouver, and that's okay. But I'm just asking you to think about it more carefully before you decide. The cost of living there is very high, especially rent. I'm not saying Calgary is better, but please look at the numbers first. Maybe make a budget for both cities. I just want what's best for you. Can you at least do that before you say yes?
I hear you, Priya. Vancouver is an exciting city, and I completely understand the appeal. But I'm a little worried you might be dismissing Calgary too quickly. Look, I'm not trying to talk you out of anything. I just want to make sure you're making this decision with all the facts in front of you. Have you actually compared the after-tax salaries against rental costs in both cities? Vancouver's rent averages are really high right now. I care about your well-being, so would you be open to sitting down together and running the numbers before you commit?
Priya, I can see you've got your heart set on Vancouver, and I genuinely respect that. It's an incredible city with so much to offer. But I'd be doing you a disservice as a friend if I didn't push back a little here. Your resistance to considering Calgary concerns me, not because Calgary is necessarily the right choice, but because it seems like you might be letting excitement override a thorough analysis. Have you factored in Alberta's lack of provincial income tax against British Columbia's tax rate? Have you modeled your monthly expenses against each salary offer? I'm not here to make this decision for you, Priya, but please promise me you'll crunch the numbers seriously before responding to either employer. You deserve to make this choice with confidence, not just enthusiasm.
Describe what you see happening in this park scene. Include details about the people, their activities, and the overall atmosphere. Begin speaking now.
In this picture, I can see a busy park on a sunny afternoon. There are many families sitting on the grass. Some children are playing on the playground and others are running around. A few people are having a picnic near some trees. In the background, I can see a path where people are walking their dogs. Everyone looks happy and relaxed. It is a nice summer day in the park.
This photo captures a lively park scene, on what appears to be a warm Canadian summer afternoon. In the foreground, a group of families is spread out on the grass, some enjoying picnics while others watch their children play nearby. To the left, kids are laughing and climbing on playground equipment. Along the paved path, cyclists and dog walkers move at a leisurely pace. Further back, a group of teenagers is tossing a frisbee. The park feels full of life and energy, with a large shade tree anchoring the center of the scene.
This image depicts a wonderfully vibrant weekend scene in what looks like a mid-sized Canadian city park. In the foreground, several families have staked out patches of lawn for afternoon picnics, with blankets, coolers, and strollers scattered casually about. A cluster of young children dominates the centrally located playground, their laughter almost audible through the image, as parents watch attentively from nearby benches. To the right, an older couple walks hand in hand along a winding paved path, while cyclists weave politely around pedestrians. In the background, a group of teenagers engages in what appears to be an impromptu volleyball game. The overall atmosphere is one of communal ease and seasonal joy, capturing the distinctly Canadian habit of making the most of warm weather whenever it arrives.
What do you predict will happen to Canadian cities as remote work becomes more established over the next decade, and why do you think so? Begin speaking now.
I think remote work will change Canadian cities a lot in the next 10 years. More people will move away from expensive cities like Toronto and Vancouver. Smaller cities like Halifax or Kelowna will grow because people can work from home there. Downtown office buildings might become apartments or community spaces. Traffic might also decrease, which is good for the environment. I think life will be better for many Canadians because they will have more choices about where to live.
Over the next decade, I predict remote work will significantly reshape Canada's urban landscape. Major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal will likely see slower population growth as workers realize they no longer need to live near their offices. Mid-sized cities such as Halifax, Kelowna, and Victoria stand to benefit enormously, attracting younger workers seeking more affordable housing and a better quality of life. Downtown cores in large cities will need to reinvent themselves. We may see vacant office towers converted into residential units or mixed-use developments. Overall, I believe this shift will promote a healthier, more balanced distribution of Canada's population and economic activity.
The sustained normalization of remote work is poised to fundamentally reconfigure Canada's urban geography over the coming decade. I anticipate that hyper-concentrated population growth in Toronto and Vancouver will plateau as workers, freed from geographic employment constraints, migrate toward secondary cities offering superior affordability and quality of life. Places like Moncton, Lethbridge, and Prince George may experience unprecedented expansion. Simultaneously, major urban cores will face a structural reckoning. Excess commercial real estate will accelerate conversion to mixed-use and residential developments, though municipal governments will need equitable policy frameworks to manage this transition carefully. Commuter infrastructure investment will likely shift toward broadband expansion in smaller communities. Ultimately, remote work may prove to be the most democratizing force in Canadian urban planning since the post-war suburban boom, redistributing both prosperity and opportunity more broadly across the country.
Compare the University of Toronto and the University of British Columbia. Which one would you recommend to your friend and why? Try to persuade them to choose your recommended school. Begin speaking now.
I think you should choose the University of British Columbia over the University of Toronto. UBC has a beautiful campus near the ocean in Vancouver, and the weather is much milder. Both universities are excellent academically, but UBC offers stronger programs in environmental science and engineering. The campus lifestyle is also more relaxed. Vancouver is a great city for networking in tech and business. You won't regret choosing UBC.
I strongly recommend choosing the University of British Columbia over the University of Toronto. While both are ranked among Canada's top institutions, UBC offers some distinct advantages. First, UBC's location in Vancouver provides incredible networking opportunities in the growing tech and film industries. Second, the campus itself is stunning, situated near mountains and the Pacific Ocean. U of T, though prestigious, is in a more congested urban environment. If you're studying sciences or engineering, UBC's research facilities are world-class. Overall, the quality of life and academic reputation make UBC the smarter long-term choice for your career.
Choosing between the University of Toronto and the University of British Columbia is genuinely difficult, as both are world-renowned institutions. However, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to choose UBC. Academically, UBC ranks consistently among the top 40 universities globally and excels particularly in life sciences, computer science, and sustainability research, all high-demand fields in today's job market. Beyond academics, the campus in Vancouver offers an unparalleled quality of life. You'd be surrounded by mountains, ocean, and a vibrant multicultural city with a milder climate than Toronto's harsh winters. U of T, while exceptional in law and commerce, is located in a far denser and more expensive urban center. Given your interest in environmental studies, UBC is quite simply the superior and more strategic choice.
What would you do and say to handle this situation? Describe the steps you would take and how you would communicate with your landlord and other relevant authorities. Begin speaking now.
I would call my landlord one more time and say clearly, it's extremely cold and my heating has been broken for 3 days. This is a safety issue and I need it fixed immediately. If they still refuse, I would contact my province's Tenant Rights Board for help. In Canada, landlords are legally required to provide adequate heat. I would document everything in writing to protect myself legally and stay safe.
This is a serious situation, especially during a Canadian winter. My first step would be to contact my landlord directly and firmly, explaining that the lack of heat poses a genuine health risk. I'd say, under provincial tenancy law, you are required to maintain adequate heating. I am requesting you address this within 24 hours. If they remain unresponsive, I would file a formal complaint with my province's landlord and tenant board. I'd also keep written records of all communications and purchase a space heater, as a temporary measure while the dispute is resolved.
Dealing with an unresponsive landlord during a Canadian winter demands both composure and decisive action. I would begin by sending a formal written notice, via email and registered mail, clearly stating that the absence of adequate heating constitutes a violation of my province's Residential Tenancies Act, which mandates a minimum indoor temperature during winter months. I would set a 24-hour deadline for repairs and explicitly state my intention to escalate if necessary. Should the landlord remain unresponsive, I would promptly file an urgent application with the landlord and tenant board, citing health and safety grounds. Meanwhile, I'd photograph all evidence, retain every piece of correspondence, and pursue a rent abatement for the period the heating remained non-functional. Tenant rights in Canada are robustly protected, and I would exercise every available legal avenue without hesitation.
What is your opinion on whether Canada should increase its immigration targets? Give clear reasons and relevant examples to support your view. Begin speaking now.
I believe Canada should carefully consider increasing immigration targets, but only with proper planning. Canada has an aging population and many labor shortages, especially in healthcare and construction. Immigrants bring important skills and contribute to the economy. However, the government must also ensure there is enough affordable housing and services for newcomers. If these challenges are addressed properly, increasing immigration could greatly benefit Canada's future growth and well-being.
In my opinion, Canada should strategically increase immigration targets, provided the right infrastructure is in place. Canada's birth rate is declining and its population is aging rapidly, creating significant gaps in the workforce, particularly in skilled trades, healthcare, and technology. Immigrants have historically been vital contributors to Canada's cultural and economic prosperity. That said, the recent housing crisis highlights the urgency of coordinated planning. The government must invest in affordable housing and settlement services to support newcomers effectively. A balanced, needs-based approach to immigration would serve both Canadians and new arrivals equally well.
Canada's immigration debate is multifaceted, and while I understand the concerns of those who advocate for slower growth, I firmly believe that thoughtfully increasing immigration targets remains essential for the country's long-term vitality. Canada faces a pronounced demographic challenge, an aging baby boomer population and a below-replacement birth rate, that will place enormous strain on pension systems and healthcare without sustained population growth. Immigration has always been a cornerstone of Canada's identity and economic resilience, driving innovation, entrepreneurship, and cultural richness. However, the recent housing affordability crisis underscores the urgent need for a more coordinated federal-provincial strategy. Simply raising targets without corresponding investments in affordable housing, healthcare capacity, and language settlement programs would be counterproductive. A calibrated, sector-specific immigration model, prioritizing in-demand trades and professions, would yield the greatest long-term socio-economic benefit for all Canadians.
Describe what you witness and experience in that unusual moment. What do you see, feel, and do? Begin speaking now.
I was walking through the park when I noticed a large brown bag near a bench. I looked inside and found stacks of Canadian bills. There must have been thousands of dollars. I felt shocked and very nervous. I immediately called 911 to report what I had found. A police officer arrived quickly and took the bag as evidence. I gave a statement and felt relieved that I had done the right thing.
It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when I decided to take a stroll through Confederation Park in Ottawa. Near a cluster of maple trees, I spotted an unzipped duffel bag that looked oddly out of place. My curiosity got the better of me, and when I looked inside, I found bundled stacks of Canadian currency, easily tens of thousands of dollars. I felt a sudden mix of disbelief and anxiety. Without touching anything, I immediately called the Ottawa Police Service. Officers arrived within minutes, cordoned off the area, and began an investigation. I stayed to provide a witness statement, eventually heading home still stunned by the experience.
The incident unfolded on an otherwise unremarkable Saturday morning in Stanley Park, Vancouver. I had been jogging along one of the quieter woodland trails when a partially concealed backpack beneath a cedar tree caught my attention. Something about it seemed deliberately placed, too neat, too deliberate to have been accidentally forgotten. Upon closer inspection, I was astonished to discover it contained tightly bound stacks of Canadian $100 bills, likely amounting to several $100,000 in total. My immediate reaction was a jarring blend of disbelief, unease, and a strong sense of civic responsibility. Without disturbing anything further, I stepped back, photographed the scene on my phone for documentation, and promptly called 911. The Vancouver Police Department responded swiftly, and detectives later confirmed the money was connected to an ongoing financial fraud investigation. I was profoundly relieved I had chosen to act with integrity.
Hey people, how was your test? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or you'll be missing out on some serious fun. See you tomorrow!